Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is my group assignment for subject SPS 217 Test, Measurement and Evaluation for DSEMS. My group members and I will present to you guys on the topic of cardiovascular endurance. Before we started, I would like to introduce to you guys my group members. My group members was represented by Ahmad Daniel Saifuddin bin Muhammad Dinein, Ainur Shanifa binti Johari, Nurin Akila binti Mazlan, Nur Izzatul Balkis binti Muhammad Amir, and Muhammad Alif Daniel bin Jamail Hasmadi. We all from SR 1133B. So before we go through this topic, I would like to ask you guys, did you guys know what is cardiovascular endurance? Cardiovascular endurance is how efficient your blood vessel, your heart, your lungs to supply oxygen, rich blood to working muscle during physical activities. Cardiovascular endurance is any aerobic activity which is it use aerobic as the basic energy system. For instance, the activity is like walking, running, playing any sport for a prolonged time or more than 19 seconds. Next slide. Look at the table of content of this PowerPoint. It contains the lab test and field test of cardiovascular endurance. So my group will do VO2 max for the lab test and the bleed test for the field test. Number 2 is contain the objective of the test. Number 3, procedure. Number 4, norm of the test. Number 5, fundamental principle of the test. And the last one is the concept and the theory of the test. So to measure the cardiovascular endurance for the lab test, we use VO2 max test. So what is VO2 max test? VO2 max test is a maximal exercise test performed on an ergometer that connected to a machine capable for analyzing expired air. Next slide. The objective of the VO2 max test. So the objective of the test is VO2 max test provide data on how much oxygen can be used in exercise. The second one, VO2 max test determine the maximal oxygen that consumed during exercise. It measures the maximum amount of oxygen a person can utilize during intense exercise. And the third one, VO2 max test tests the aerobic endurance of athlete before and at the end of the training cycle. This test is to determine the athlete cardiovascular fitness and the performance capacity. So let's move on into the next slide, which is procedure of VO2 max test. So the first step is the subject must wear a mask and a heart rate monitor hooked up to a treadmill or stationary bike. The second step is slowly increase exercise intensity on the treadmill. The third step is getting faster or add more resistance until your oxygen consumption remains steady despite increase in intensity. Number 4, once the subject already tired, the body move from aerobic metabolism to anaerobic metabolism. And the last step, shortly after the switch, the subject have to return to an aerobic state of movement to keep going.
Hi, my name is Nur Izzatul Balkis binti Muhammad Amir. I am from SR 1133B. The VO2 max test is a test to determine your body's maximum consumption of oxygen and the efficiency of your muscles. To do this test, our goal is to get you to max exercise to determine your heart rate max, your VO2 max, and an estimate lactate threshold. During the test, we are measuring oxygen consumption and CO2 production to determine all these values, and from that you can help set your target rate training zone. The best way to use this as a change over time measure to determine how your workout plan is going. If you're getting better, whether that's running, CrossFit, any sort of cardio-based exercise. The protocol of this test is we choose a speed where you are comfortable but not too comfortable, and every minute we are going to increase the incline on the treadmill. Our goal is to max you out in about 10 minutes so that you are not running at too high of an incline, and your oxygen consumption gets to that full max along with your heart rate max. Here we are measuring a variety of variables, the graphs here showing the heart rate throughout the test, and then this is the VO2, so your oxygen consumption relative to your body weight, and then your ventilation. That's all from me. Thanks for watching.
Move into the next slide. To proceed the VO2 max test, you have to prepare 4 equipment for this test. The first one is the stopwatch, the second one is the oxygen and carbon dioxide analyzer, the third one is heart rate monitor, and the fourth one is the appropriate agnometer. That's all from me. Thank you for listening. So for the next slide, I will pass to the next presenter.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurin Akila binti Mazlan and I am from SR0133B. So today I will present about the slide of cardiovascular endurance. Before we start, I will explain about the norms. What are norms? Norms is test norms consist of data that make it possible to determine the relative standing of an individual who has taken a test. Norms provide a basis for comparing the individual with a group. Numerical values called centiles or percentiles serve as the basis for one widely applicable system of norms. So for the first slide, I will explain about the VO2 max norm. It is a maximum oxygen uptake you can get. Using the VO2 max table for men and women below, you can make an estimate of how good your oxygen intake and condition is. So, there are two tables of norm, one for men and women. VO2 max, we can calculate it directly through machine in the units of ml of oxygen per kilogram of body weight per minute, or ml per kilo per minute. As you can see in the slide, the average sedentary male will achieve a VO2 max of approximately 35 to 40 milliliter per kilogram per minute. For the next slide, as you can see, the norms for women. For the average of sedentary female will score a VO2 max of between 27 and 30 milliliter kilogram per minute. Athletes record much higher VO2 max score than others. Most female athletes can score between 60 to 85, and for male is between 70 to 85. Higher VO2 max score are associated with certain endurance sports, most specifically cycling, rowing, or distance running. For the next slide, I will explain about the beep test. What is beep test? Beep test is the multi-stage fitness test, also known as the beep test, PACER, Progressive Aerobic Cardiovascular Endurance Run, PACER test, or the 20-meter shuttle run test. Is a running test used to estimate an athlete's aerobic capacity or VO2 max. For the next slide, I will explain about the procedure for beep test. First, you need to place marker 20 meters apart. Then, stand behind one line facing the second line and begin running when the audio starts to play. After that, if the line reaches before the beep sound, the subject must wait until the beep test before continuing. And lastly, if cannot reach the line before the beep sound, the subject is given warning and eliminated after second warning.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Dina Saifuddin bin Muhammad Dinain from class SR1133B. In this video, I will show you the procedure on how to do a beep test. Before I show you the demonstration of the bip test, there have a few rules that the subject need to follow. First, the subject must stand behind the line facing the second line. Number 2, the subject will start running when the audio start playing. The number 3, if the subject reach the line before the beep sound, he must wait for the next beep sound. And the last one, if the subject doesn't reach the line after the beep sound, he will be given a warning, and the second one, he will be eliminated. Next, I will show you the demonstration of the beep test for the level 1 and the level 6.
The multi-stage fitness test will start in 5 seconds. Ready? Start level 1, 1. Level 1, 2. Level 1, 3. Start level 6, 1. Level 6, 2. Level 6, 3.
That is the example for the beep test for the level 1 and the level 6. That's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
For the next slide, I will explain about the equipment for beep test. First, 20-meter measure tape. It is to measure the distance of the test. Next, marking cone. It is to mark the distance between points along 20 meters. Then, beep test audio player. It is the audio player that contains a certain level of test. And the last one is beep test recording sheet. It is to record a data or collect the data of the subject. So that's all for me, and I will pass my presentation to my friend.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Alif Daniel bin Jamal Hasmadi. I'm from SR 1133B. So today I'm going to explain about norms for beep test. So there are two sets of norms. The first set of data is based on a study of over 1 million youths aged from 9 to 17 years old. It can also get a fitness rating using the beep test calculator. So this table provides a greater range of score for children compared to the table above. Thus, for the corresponding age group is generally easier to rate higher. This highlights the differences between the sample groups. This can be used the table above for an active group such as junior sport teams, and the tables below for testing groups of all ability such as school groups. For the next slide, the second were created by Toppen Sport is for those 12 years old and older based on the data from the VO2 max norms, the result of athletes and personal experience. Is only used as a general guide. For the next slide, it is a fundamental principle. Fundamental principle is the basic principle that usually used in the beep test. If we want to run a beep test, we need to record this component. So there are two types of table that we use in the beep test. The first one is attempt record for beep test, and the second one is raw score for beep test. In this slide, it shows the attempt record for beep test. It should have the amount of participants, name, gender, attempt result from the attempt, and lastly is the rating performance. The reason of this table need to be used is to identify the rating score for participant from the attempt. Either is excellent or a poor performance. Next slide, it is a raw score record table. From raw score table is the best performance score from the attempt record table. In this table, it can see the best result or the best score from the participant as their last result. For the next slide, it is calculation for BIP test result. After analyzing the best result for participants, it have to calculate to get the mean, median, and mode. So the first one is mean. To calculate the mean, it is the total of raw score from all participants. Then we have to divide the amount of participants. After the calculation, the result for mean is 5.94. Next is median. Median is the middle point from the raw score. For example, in the table, the middle point is 5.4. And lastly, mode. Mode is the highest frequency in the attempt record. From the attempt record, the highest frequency is 8.4. So that's all from me. Next slide, I'm going to pass to my friend. So thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ahmad Dina Saifuddin bin Muhammad Dinain from the Faculty of Sports Science and Recreation, and I am from the class SR1133B. In this slide, I will explain the definition of reliability. Reliability is relates to the consistency or repeatability of an observation. So what it means is that it is to test the consistency of the client doing the exercise repeatedly. A test is reliable if one obtains the same or nearly the same score each time the test is administered by same individual. If the individual have a different score for each time the test is administered, it shows that the client doesn't have the consistency. The consistency is very important because it can enhance one's performance. BIP test and VO2 max is the example of cardiovascular endurance. If the client can give the result for both exercise the same or nearly the same, it will increase the client's performance greatly. This type of test can be described as accurate, stability, and precision. It is because VO2 max can measure heart rate, resting heart rate, and many others. For the next slide, I will explain about types of reliability. First, it is the test-retest reliability. Test-retest reliability measures the consistency of results when you repeat the same test on the same individual at a different point time. Second, it is the inter-rater reliability. Inter-rater reliability, also called inter-observer reliability, measures the degree of agreement between different people observing or assessing the same thing. Third, it is the parallel forms. Parallel forms reliability measures the correlation between two equivalent versions of a test. You use it when you have two different assessment tools or sets of questions designed to measure the same thing. Last but not least, it is an internal consistency. Internal consistency assesses the correlation between multiple items in a test that are intended to measure the same contract. Next slide, I will explain the factors that affect reliability. Factors that affect reliability is administrative procedures. For this, the instructions must be clear and the individual should be ready so that he is motivated to do well. If the instructions are unclear, the client may be lost and don't know what to do. Next, it is the perform in the test in same way. The environment should be suitable to achieve good performance. It is because the environment have a big influence in achieving a great performance. Lastly, it is method of scoring. It is consistency with different people who score the same test. For the next slide, I will let Zatu to present about concept and theories. Thank you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nurizatu Balkis binti Mama Ame. I am from SR113 3B. So for today, I would like to present about concept and theory in cardiovascular endurance test. Cardiovascular endurance is the level of your heart, lung, and muscles work together when we are exercising for an extended period of time. It is to test how efficiently your cardiorespiratory system functions. It is an indicator on how physically fit and healthy you are. Next is the benefit of cardiovascular endurance test. First, it can improve the level of fitness of someone. Cardiovascular endurance test can make lung and heart rate are able to better use oxygen. Third one is that allows us to exercise for longer periods without getting tired, because mostly people with getting very tired to exercise, so then they will become very lazy. So this test can improve your fitness level, so then you may exercise for a long period without tired. Next, the last one, this test may also help you to determine the type of exercise for weight loss programs. After doing the test, we will know the level of the fitness of someone, so then we can plan the good exercise for them. How to measure the cardiovascular endurance test? It will be used for the lab test and field test. For lab test, we have two, VO2 max and NT. For the field test, we have the extreme treatment test and 2.4 km run test, and another one is the pit test. For the VO2 max, we can do at the laboratory or the clinic or at the hospital. For the field test, we can do by our own if we have the enough equipment. The cardiovascular endurance test is important for the sport that require continuous effort at sub-maximal level. It is also important for the sport in which intense effort are interspersed with rest period. Example of cardiovascular endurance exercise is walking, running or jogging at a steady pace, and dancing. For sport that improve the cardiovascular endurance is soccer, basketball, squash, tennis. That's all for me. I will pass to the next presenter. Thank you.
The conclusion is physical fitness is necessary for all people that want to become healthy or an athlete that want to improve their performance. Physical activity and regular light exercise may reduce the risk of lifestyle disease, especially from cardiovascular disease, such as hypertension, diabetes, and obesity. This is shown that cardiovascular endurance is very important to our life. Many people have a big misunderstanding that cardiovascular endurance can only be applied to the athletes. But in reality, the cardiovascular endurance also can be applied to a normal people or to an inactive person. Moreover, it can increase one's health, especially to the people that have chronic disease or old people. For example, heart disease can also be prevented. This is such a big opportunity to the people that don't want to have a heart disease in the future. That's all from me. Thank you.